Dear students, Assalamu alaikum, good morning, welcome in the class. Today we start our discussion on realism. It will be the first session on realism. Our discussion is based on a chapter written by Jack Donnelly, and the book's title is Theories of International Relations, 6th edition. And the editors of the book are Richard Devtek and Jackie True. And Jack Donnelly starts the discussion with exemplary realist arguments. He discusses some exemplary realist arguments and says that realist arguments come in many different forms. At the same time, these arguments still share some common features. This section briefly discusses important examples of classical and structural realist theories. It looks at the ideas of Thomas Hobbes. Thomas Hobbes is a famous philosopher. This section also looks at the ideas of Kenneth Waltz. Kenneth Waltz is also a famous theorist of international relations. The section also introduces new classical realism. It also highlights four typical arguments that realists often make. Four typical arguments that realists often make. They are also discussed in this section. These arguments come from different kinds of realist thinkers. Now, the Hobbesian state of nature. Today we will discuss only the Hobbesian state of nature. The remaining things of this section will be discussed in classes. Hobbesian. Hobbesian is adjective from Hobbes, Thomas Hobbes. Related to Hobbes are explained by Hobbes. The Hobbesian state of nature. In fact, Thomas Hobbes explained the state of nature. It is one of his most famous theories. Leviathan. Leviathan was the name of is the name of Thomas Hobbes' book. It is a very famous book in philosophy. Leviathan was published in 1651. Chapter 13 of this book presents a very clear and influential classical realist model. The model is based on three simple assumptions. The first assumption is men are equal. Men are equal. The word men reflects the typical language used in the 17th century. Today, we might see the analysis as deeply gendered. It may reflect a masculinist perspective. This perspective shapes Hobbes' assumptions about the main motives of men. The second assumption is people interact with each other without a government. The first assumption is men are equal. The second assumption is people interact with each other without a government. The third assumption is people are driven by three main motives. Three main motives are the people. These motives are number one, competition. Number two, diffidence. Diffidence means lack of trust or fear of others. When people don't uh, trust one another, it is diffidence. When people fear one another, it is diffidence. The third motive is glory. Glory means desire for reputation and honor. Desire for reputation and honor. So Thomas Hobbes explains that People are driven by these three motives, and it is the third assumption that Thomas Hobbes makes in the Leviathan. Hobbes argues that when these three conditions exist together, a serious result follows. Thomas Hobbes argues that when these three conditions exist together, a serious result follows. The result is a war of all against all. War of all against all. Hobbes wanted to understand the natural condition of mankind. To do this, he tried to remove the effects of social customs and conventions. He tried to remove the effects of social customs and conventions. He used an analytical idea called the state of nature. This state of nature is an imagined situation before society existed. According to Hobbes, international relations between states resemble this situation in important ways. Hobbes argues that men are naturally equal. Even the weakest person can kill the strongest person. This can happen through secret planning. A weak man can kill a strong man by secret planning, or it can happen through cooperation with others. He can make an alliance, uh, get other peoples along, and a weak man can kill a strong man. Because abilities are equal, hopes are also equal. So men have equal abilities, Thomas Hobbes explains. So when their abilities are equal, their hopes are also equal. Everyone believes they have a right to achieve their goals. Each person usually thinks they are at least as capable as everyone else. Because of this belief, everyone expects to have at least as much as others. But there is a problem. Resources are scarce. Resources are limited. They are scarce. They are not enough. There is not enough for everyone. This creates frustration. When people don't have things, possessions as much as they want, it creates frustration among people. Frustration when they are not satisfied, when they are worried. It is frustration. Frustration creates hostility between people. Hostility, rivalry, enmity. uh, It is called hostility. Frustration creates hostility between people. People develop a desire to destroy others, or they want to control others, they want to dominate others, they want to overcome others, overpower others. This situation creates fear. It also creates uncertainty. Uncertainty, when it is there is uncertainty, people are not sure what is going to happen. It is called uncertainty. Hobbes says that people are not only fearful, they are also naturally competitive. People are also competitive. They compete with each other. They want to be ahead of all else. They are also vain. People are also proud. According to Hobbes, there are three main causes of conflict among people. There are three main causes of conflict among people. The first cause of conflict among people is competition. People compete with each other, they are competitive. People fight to gain resources and benefits. This is the second cause of conflict among people. Uh, Sorry, the competition here, first cause is competition, and in this slide, the competition is explained. People fight to gain resources and benefits. It is the competition. The second cause of conflict among people is diffidence, meaning fear and distrust. People fear one another, they distrust. People attack others to protect themselves. This is diffidence. The third cause of conflict among people is glory. People fight to gain reputation and honor. It is glory. Hobbes also explains the environment where these people interact. Environment. This environment is anarchic. Anarchic. Anarchy. I explained it in your class when we were studying liberalism. Anarchy and hierarchy. So, when there is anarchy, the environment is anarchic. Anarchic means when there is no government, when there is no authority, it is anarchy. The word anarchy here means something specific. It means there is no government, it means there is no central authority, or there is no ruler. People live without a common power. There is no authority to control everyone. There is no authority to make people obey rules in anarchy. Hobbes argues that three things together create a state of war. Three things together create a state of war. These three things are anarchy, egoism, and equality. Egoism means self interest of the people. So these three things together create a state of war among the people: anarchy, egoism, and equality. When these conditions exist, war becomes unavoidable. Hobbes explains that war does not only mean actual fighting, war also means a constant readiness for fighting. Constant readiness for fighting. Continuous. Constant means continuous. War exists whenever there is no guarantee of peace. Without a government, conflicts easily turn into violence. When there is no government, where there is no authority, there is no law, there is no police, there is no army. So there are a lot of conflicts, and those conflicts easily turn into violence. In this situation, many important things are at risk. When there is no government, there are a lot of risks. Prosperity is at risk. People can your possessions can be snatched, your belongings, your things can be snatched. Freedom is at risk. The powerful can enslave the weak. Even survival is at risk. People can easily kill one another. Because of this danger, people prepare for the worst. Hobbes says this preparation is the only reasonable choice. So people people try to defend themselves, self-defense. So they make preparations for it. As a result, every person becomes an enemy of every other person. Every person becomes an enemy of every other person. So it is called the war of all against all. This does not mean people are naturally evil, bad. It does not mean that people are naturally bad. Instead, the situation itself causes the problem because there is no government, there is no authority, there is no justice. So it leads people to the situation of war of all against all. Equal people who are selfish, who are fearful, and who are proud live in anarchy. Equal people live in anarchy. In such a situation, they cannot trust one another. They naturally see others as potential enemies. If someone is not an enemy today, they might become an enemy in the future. Hobbes also recognizes another side of human nature. Some human passions encourage peace. These include fear of death, desire for things needed for a comfortable life, and hope that hard work can provide these things. So, these things lead people to peace. Humans also have reason. Humans also have reason. No other creature in this universe has reason. Humans have reason. Reason helps people think logically. So only humans can think logically. They're the intelligent life. Reason suggests rules and agreements for peace. Since humans have reason, they can make agreements with one another and they can live in peace. These agreements can help people cooperate with each other. So it is logical, it is reasonable that people cooperate with each other and they live in peace. But there is a serious problem. Agreements need enforcement. Agreements need enforcement. So that if someone violates the agreement, they can be punished. They could be punished. So an enforcement authority is required to enforce agreements, to implement the agreements. If there is no authority to enforce agreements, they become weak and fragile. The agreements become weak without enforcement authority. Because of this, cooperation becomes risky. People fear that others may break the agreement. Therefore, cooperation becomes rare, which is not found easily. It means rare. Cooperation becomes rare because without enforcement authority. Hobbes also argues something important. Outside society, peaceful passions are weaker than hostile passions. Hostile passions are stronger. Peaceful passions are weaker outside society. If there is no society, if there is no government, if there is no authority, then hostile passions are stronger. The forces pushing people toward conflict and enmity are stronger. And in anarchy, these forces often lead to war because people are caught in conflicts, and conflicts sometimes lead to war. The state of nature is often escaped when people create societies. So it was the state of nature. State of nature when there was no authority, there was no government, there was no law, there was no enforcement, no implementation of the agreements. So it was the state of nature. It was characterized by anarchy. It was anarchic. Then people make a contract, they make an agreement. So the state of nature is often escaped when people create societies. But the story does not end there. These societies become states in modern international relations. When people make agreements with one another, they form societies, and these societies then become states and countries. However, states themselves remain in a similar situation. So within these states, people have authority, people have government, people have law, people have justice, courts, police. But among the states, at the international level, there's no authority above the states, there's no government above the states. So states themselves, they live in a situation of anarchy. So international environment is anarchic. There is no world government above the states, above the countries. So the international system resembles the state of nature. International system is like the state of nature, where there is no government, there is no authority, there is no law, there is no justice. Because of this, states often act out of fear. So states fear each other. They also act to gain advantages. Many realists therefore argue that international relations are very similar to the Hobbesian state of nature. So, with this, we have completed our discussion on the Hobbesian state of nature. So, I close the YouTube and I join you on the Google Meet again, and then we discuss.